They thought they had them trapped. 3 American warships, locked in the narrowest stretch of water on the planet, surrounded by darkness with nowhere to run. The Iranian fast boats were closing at over 40 knots, fire control radar painting targets, a surveillance drone circling overhead feeding real-time coordinates to the attack boats below. What happened in the next 22 minutes would rewrite the playbook for naval engagement in contested waters. This wasn't some chance encounter, this was a coordinated operation planned before those destroyers ever entered the Strait of Hormuz. And the response they got back was about to send a message that would echo through every naval command center from Tehran to Beijing. At 2:47 in the morning, USS Truxtun, Rafael Peralta, and Mason were threading through the most strategically vital waterway on Earth, when Iranian coastal radar systems suddenly shifted from passive surveillance to something far more dangerous. The electronic warfare technician aboard Truxtun didn't need to check his reference materials. That pulse pattern wasn't tracking behavior, that was targeting behavior. 3 Iranian fast attack craft had just materialized off the coastline, accelerating hard and converging directly on the American formation. The geometry told the whole story. These boats weren't running patrol patterns or crossing at casual transit angles. They were executing a textbook intercept with mathematical precision. One angling toward the lead destroyer's bow, one threading between the ships to split the formation, one holding wide to observe the Americans' response. Above them all, that surveillance drone maintained a controlled orbit, transmitting positioning data downward to keep the attack synchronized. Someone in the Iranian chain of command had decided tonight was the night to test exactly what 3 US Navy destroyers would do when pressured in narrow water with limited maneuvering options. The first radio hail went out professional and measured, transmitted in both English and Farsi. Unidentified Iranian naval vessels. This is United States Navy formation operating in international waters. State your intentions and maintain safe distance. The silence that came back across the channel told them everything they needed to know. The boats kept accelerating toward intercept geometry. At 2:51, they crossed inside 5 nautical miles. Their hull profiles now resolved clearly enough on camera systems to identify armed positions and crew members braced for high-speed combat maneuvers. But here's where the story takes a turn that Iranian planners never saw coming. At 2:53, their fire control radar achieved hard lock on Truxtun. That lock tone started pulsing in the Combat Information Center. The sound that every sailor understands means an enemy weapon system has calculated a firing solution on your ship. The window between completed firing solution and actual weapon launch can compress to under 30 seconds. Most commanders facing that scenario have 2 choices: escalate dramatically or back down completely. The Americans chose a third option. Electronic countermeasures flooded the electromagnetic spectrum with artificial noise and false returns. Truxtun's precise position became uncertain within the interference. The Iranian targeting system flickered and degraded below optimal firing parameters. 30 seconds of degraded lock bought 30 seconds the crew could exploit. When the lead Iranian boat fired that warning shot, splashing 180 meters off Truxtun's bow, the response was immediate and calculated. 2 controlled rounds from the forward gun mount, splashes appearing precisely 200 meters ahead of the Iranian boat's bow. Close enough to matter, clear enough in message content. The lead boat began to fold away from engagement, but 2 threats remained active. That surveillance drone overhead kept trying to penetrate the jamming, still feeding targeting data to the boats below. As long as that platform stayed operational, the Iranians retained tactical awareness. Remove the drone from the picture, and the boats would operate blind in zero visibility conditions. The order came with calm authority. Take out the observation platform, close in weapon system, anti-drone engagement authorized. At 2:56, a controlled burst of 20mm rounds traced upward into the darkness. The firing solution had been building for 60 seconds. The close-in weapon system doesn't estimate trajectories, it calculates ballistic solutions with computer precision. On the tactical display, the drone's flight track wobbled once. Then the infrared signature disappeared. The guidance link broke mid-cycle. Aboard the 2 remaining Iranian boats, the tactical picture went dark. The targeting data feeding from above ceased. Their onboard systems could only resolve what their organic sensors detected, and in that darkness, at that range, with active countermeasures degrading their radar returns, they had almost nothing. They were no longer coordinated hunters with overhead guidance. They were 2 small boats moving fast through black water without a tactical map. The coordinated fire control solution collapsed entirely. Without the drone's data link, the targeting parameters they'd been building degraded below engagement threshold. At 2:59, both boats turned north toward the coastline, not fleeing at panic speed but withdrawing at standard transit pace. The speed of a tactical decision already made and communicated. Internal Iranian communications captured by electronic warfare systems confirmed it. Abort engagement. Return to base. By 3:04, the Strait of Hormuz looked exactly as it had before the encounter began. Black water, no moon overhead, distant lights along the Iranian coastline now silent and still. The only evidence of what transpired existed in forms invisible from the surface. A drone resting somewhere on the seabed, and 3 patrol boats running quietly home with an after-action report no commander wanted to write. The American formation never altered course, never changed speed, never broke escort spacing. They held their line through the entire engagement. What happened that night wasn't about superior firepower or technological advantage, though both played their part. It was about something more fundamental in naval warfare. The side that controls the engagement isn't necessarily the side that fires first. It's the side that was already prepared before the first radar pulse ever left the enemy coastline. The Americans had run scenarios like this thousands of times. They knew the geography, understood the tactical signatures, and had countermeasures ready before the threat fully materialized. The intelligence value of that encounter will be analyzed for years. Every radar emission captured across the full frequency spectrum, every fire control lock recorded with timestamp and duration, every course adjustment documented to the meter. That data reveals Iranian patrol boat doctrine, coordination procedures, and aggression thresholds in ways that no satellite imagery or intercepted communications ever could. The Iranians tested American resolve and handed over a complete tactical intelligence package in the process. But the deeper lesson from that night echoes far beyond the Strait of Hormuz. In an era when every naval encounter gets scrutinized for signs of weakness or escalation, 3 destroyers demonstrated that restraint isn't passivity and documentation isn't surrender. Sometimes the most powerful response to provocation is to maintain course, execute countermeasures with surgical precision, and let the other side discover that their carefully planned ambush just became a teaching moment. Because in the narrow water between nations, where sovereignty and international law intersect, control belongs to whoever was ready first. And on that dark morning, there was never any question which side that was.